A very good welcome to you, Pradeep ji, on this common sense discussion on the war which is going on in the West Asia. Please unmute your mic. Yeah, now it's okay.
Okay.
So I say
Thanks.
again, you are welcome to this short discussion. We shall be having a common sense discussion. We call it on the war which is raging not very far from our borders.
Yeah, it was, very much. I thank you a lot for inviting me. And in your opening remarks, you said that common sense discussion, and it's really common sense discussion because we have lost common sense all over the world. This is the problem, that common sense is the first casualty here.
Yes, that is it. War makes no sense. For
Absolutely.
war, there has to be a provocation, there have to be grounds, there have to be something. But if you have ulterior motives, premonitions, and going to war on a sovereign nation, it probably doesn't behave well for the world at large.
Yeah, very much right. Especially in 21st century when mankind was looking to take a new flight, but somebody here and there comes and he pulls the whole mankind down with himself, and he has pulled down his country and he is pulling down the whole world along with him. This is the stupidity that we are confronted with. Very, very sad state of affairs.
Isn't it? The striking thing here is that the people who are making war, they don't even make a case for war to their own people. They do not make things clear. There is no clarity even on them. And the greatest, the most rather, what I should say, blatantly insensitive thing about this whole war is that the USA, uh, President of USA, POTUS, Donald Trump, seems to be looking for some sort of, a business deal type of thing in this whole war. It appears that you can even go to war as a sort of as a strategy for business dealing. Is that okay in a world of 21st century?
This makes me laugh, and it's also makes my spine shudder because United States of American president, where you can say that by great stalwarts like Roosevelt, Franklin Delano, FDR, or John F. Kennedy, or for that matter, Eisenhower and Jimmy Carter, and such great men, and where in the Oval Office today we are confronted with a very sad spectacle that President Donald Trump is the president of America. And he is a man who changes his goalposts after every half an hour. This is the tragedy with this man. And you can yourself say, you can yourself understand that this man cannot be trusted. But the silver lining that I see in America at present, at this moment, is that his ratings have gone down to about 30%, 33%, and people are really, they're biting their skins that whom they have elected as president of America.
Yes, that is definitely a positive sign. But at the same time, I wonder how could even people in USA, even without before this war, before we had this full megalomania in view, how could people countenance a person who openly refused to accept a duly held election, who in spite of all the reasons, all the analysis to the contrary, still held on to his own paranoid view that the election was stolen from him. We can understand, one can understand that a person can be for his own sake too very paranoid. He can be too very megalomaniac. He can be too much dismissive of reason and rationality. But the point to wonder is, how could a people, a very educated people, a people who had been in control of world, at least in the major players in the world, major power in the world for the last 70 years, and they knew about it. How could they be lured by a rhetoric which clearly is from at least a century back, from the time when there was no democracy in the world?
Yeah, it's very, very tragic and very sad part of the human story, especially if you say that we have a saying that time and the wheel of time makes a full circle. If you visit Nazi Germany in that 20th century, when in the heydays of 1930s, in the early 20s and 30s, all important Nobel Prizes in science went to Germany. And there was a ferment of intellectualism in Germany. But still, German people were swayed by Hitler. It's just like a thing where you can understand the course of human history. It happens the way this has happened to American people. And not only to American people, this has happened now to all the world. All world is now grappled with this sordid, this tragic situation, and there is no way out.
I
That is
remember,
the pathetic.
Vivekanand saying somewhere that uh, that he was talking, of course, about sadhana, and he said that sadhana is like having an array of pots, but you have to constantly keep polishing them, keep cleaning them, else they will gather dust.
Yeah.
Probably we have a streak in the appearance of humans, men and women, where they need to reiterate, they need to be reminded, they need to realize every time that the larger, the better values, the advance in thinking, the achievements in common sense goals, the importance, relevance of reason and analysis, that the people have to remind themselves of it. Otherwise, they are they tend to be swayed by, you have pointed to Germans, the at that time in the first quarter of 19th century, 1930s, they were swayed by a very lopsided way. But probably the people all over the world, we are seeing a resurgence of this backward looking thing where people want to revert to imaginary golden phases. They have imagined golden eras. They have imagined some sort of their totality of sways in some earlier times. And they are often swayed by demagogues who promise them that they are capable of taking them there. And secondly, the people themselves, uh, educated, enlightened, sensible people, they are prone to be swayed by these backward looking allurements.
Yeah, that's right. Very much right. This is the problem. What happens that we, as human race, we need a galvanizing, constant galvanizing, civilizational prodding always. And if that prodding stops somewhere, then there is that gathering of dust or the gathering of evil forces around, because man is susceptible. Humans are susceptible to nostalgia. And what you have pointed out is that we actually um, are confronted with nostalgic syndrome of history. We don't realize and we don't analyze
Sorry.
history in its proper perspective. And history in its proper perspective. The problem is that we need to, our education system has to be all over the world. Education system has to be liberal. It has to be freed from these nostalgic moments in history, because after all, you can't live in 7th century or 1st century. You may draw lessons from 1st century or 2nd century, or from the great glorious days of Egyptian civilization or Persian civilization or Indian civilization. Every civilization had its own merits and its own demerits. But we have to take along the whole of human race with us, with ourselves, and we have to move forward. The only way to move forward is that when we unchain ourselves from this nostalgia, misplaced nostalgia.
Doesn't it appear that
This is very, very
in
important. And
our
fundamentally,
emphasis, yes, you were saying something?
no, no, you carry on.
What I was trying to point out is that uh, humanity as a whole, we have progressed from those small clans, then next to slightly larger tribes, then to bigger communities, and then finally to the community of nations. But probably that streak that you call nostalgia, it probably may be a streak of uh, self-emphasis, which probably got reflected in our ideation of patriotism in the recent times, the overemphasis on patriotism. It is okay, we love our country. Everybody must love his and her own country, her people. That's okay. But that should never be at the cost of excluding others. When
Yeah,
others are
absolutely.
excluded from the paradigm, when we
Mhm.
think that we alone have the right, we alone are in the right, like Trump saying, I alone can assess where the election went, I alone can say whether it was just or fair, I alone can say
Mhm.
what is right. It appears that the person could sway people to himself. That does show us that probably we, as you say, the people, the civilization, we need constant prodding in the first place. And secondly, alongside Trump, though USA under Trump has almost, it appears, gone to the other extreme. But it's a fact, historical fact, that this overemphasis on nationalism, it first appeared in many countries in Europe. Then it was reflected in that Brexit contention in Great Britain, the most cosmopolitan nation, if we can call it so, if we have one. And then we have got such streaks in almost every country.
Yeah, yes, yes, you are right. Actually, this makes me a bit on the just just makes me laugh a bit, because for the last 40 years we have been coining a word and using this word and this phrase, that world is a global village, global village, global village. If it's a global village, then what emphasis on patriotism, what emphasis on nationalism, it makes me a bit uncomfortable. But yeah, nationalism is, and as you have said, that it has its own place, but
Relevance, it has
we have
relevance, of course.
yes, it has relevance, but we have to look beyond. That's why when in 1945 the United Nations were formed, it was formed as keeping in view that there are nations in the world, okay, but alongside nations, there is an international feeling, an international understanding that we have to think about the world as one entity. But with Trump, it's not only in America that we are saying. Not now, see America, present day America. Then you have Korea, Northern Korea. You have China. Despite its technological prowess and technological advancement in different fields, China remains not democratic at all. You can't speak a word against the party. And
Or Russia for
in
that matter.
many Russia, for this matter, and even in Africa, many African states, and the whole of many Islamic states, where Islam is the religion, and it is the governing system in their polity. So, how can we unchain ourselves? How can we free from these shackles? I think there is a need for a global dialogue on on these matters. But with people like Trump and with wars looking at us, staring in the face, these things, unfortunately, these very important things, unfortunately, take the backstage.
Yes, I think what I find very, I should say, dismaying here is that we can talk of Trump, we can talk of Putin, we can talk of Xi, we can talk of many other people all over the world, near at home. We can talk of people who appear to fall in this streak of uh, yes, overemphasized patriotism, let's call it that, nostalgia, imaginary golden ages. And then the amazing thing is here is that there is always a coterie ready to support these people, to go by their word, who would not criticize, who would not call into question, who would not who would not dare, maybe they who would not dare to temper the chosen leader. Probably
Yeah,
the world needs to invest in values, in the progress the humanity has achieved, the forward, the way we have trudged along in this course of egalitarianism. And probably we need to realize, each one of us needs to be sensitive to it, that the retrograde rhetoric should not be allowed to occupy the
to,
mainstream space.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because without that, you will be seeing many things happening in the world, and you will be seeing such trumps all over the place. And if this happens to all over the world, then we are again going down in the backward time machine. As H.G. Wells, he made the time machine perhaps to move forward, but we shall be we shall be on a time machine that will go backward in time. But how to do it? I
Well,
think we
there probably is no shortcut to doing it, but probably the realization, the understanding in each one of the humans, men and women, that values take precedence over our self interests, over cults. They take precedence over narrow visions. And people need to be reminded, they need to understand that the hyper nostalgia, those so called golden days, they really aren't golden. They are more a hype than a reality. And this reality check is something very important. And with that,
Yeah,
I think,
definitely.
thank you very much for this view. I think we should stop this discussion here and hope to continue it in our next meeting. Or would you like to add something?
Okay, okay, okay. No, yeah, you're right. Let's call it day to day, and because it was the first intro, it was the first in communication, first conversation, and I think that we um, need to deliberate upon these things um, very aggressively, regularly, so that our readers to understand, and they also understand the values, and understand them and keep abreast with what humankind is actually to do in future for itself. Because if humankind thinks in terms of wars and deals and financial deals and trade deals, then everything is deals. Trumpian deals. You can't make the world a pot of deals and deals. I have a good deal. I have a bad deal. I have a good trade. I have a trade deal. I have a
There
good
was a
trade
time
deal.
not so long ago when, with all importance and relevance of business, being totally business minded was not thought so very good. And
Yeah,
now we hear only our deals. And that is something
deals.
which Trump has made the what you call it, the hit word today. But there is another
Yeah,
thing. There is another thing Trump has made very relevant. That is his tagline. Thank you very much for your attention to this matter. What do you think? We label, we use that thing. Thank you for your attention for these discussions of ours. What do you say to that?
that's good. That will be very good, but not alluding it to Trump.
Okay, we have it only. Thank you for your attention.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Pradeep ji, for meeting
Thank you,
this
Doctor. Thank
very
you.
fruitful discussion. I am
Yeah.
R.L. Bhatt, and we were talking on the wide angle, trying to assess the situation which is very much near us, which is impinging upon us, and which is so very dreadful that we cannot think out of it. We hope this discussion of ours will try to lead the way towards a better thought